What is up, everybody, and welcome to the first and free MMA Play 365 DFS podcast. I'm your host, Daily Fantasy Sniper. So happy to announce we've launched the MMA product the DFS product at MMAPlay365. Quick shout out to Newsom over there for bringing me on. Very excited about this. It's going to be quality content that I've been doing for years. Really good price and a little bit different take on some of the tools that we have. So totally free for UFC Vegas 25, Prohaska versus Reyes. After that, it's just going to be $5 an event or $10 a month comparatively across the industry. Super affordable, super cheap. Hope you guys check it out. With that, today's podcast, which is going to be free, obviously, usually this will be behind the paywall. I'm going to kind of go through the cheat sheet. I'm going to go through all different parts of the exposures, and then we're going to build some lineups. So what I think is different about a podcast is I don't want to spend an hour and a half, 2 hours doing these. I know time is valuable, and there's a lot of fight-by-fight breakdowns out there. I'm not going to necessarily go into the fight-by-fight breakdown. I might talk about it quickly, but mostly we want to focus on how to build lineups and actually do that. So that's what I'm going to focus on in the MMA Play 365 product. Specific questions will be in the Discord. The Discord, just for simplicity reasons, that's not free this week. If you do want to join that, start your membership up, and you can find me in Discord with any additional questions or just message me on Twitter, always available. Hit me up with any questions. So that's kind of my theory behind this. Super excited to get started. And let's just dive right into Reyes versus Prohaska for a DFS perspective. We're going to cover DraftKings and FanDuel. We'll do DraftKings first. But in general, I'll do the quick rundown per fight. One thing I want to mention, I did just say it, but I'm really not going to do in-depth fight-by-fight breakdowns. We have those. They're out there. Newsom does a free one with the On the Money Line podcast. Subscribe to the MMA Play 365 channel, and you can listen to that. We differ on a little bit, but I'm going to focus on the DFS angle. So that being said, Prohaska and Reyes, high inside the distance prop fight. Not one I have a super strong lean on. It's a great one for tournaments. You should be pretty much all in for this fight, or heavy exposure. In MME, this is the MME percentage I have down here. Actually, I just realized I didn't pull up the screen share. So this is the cheat sheet we're working with. So totally fine with playing either Prohaska or Reyes in cash games if you have a strong lead in this fight. It's not a must play. There's just not a lot of good cash options on this card. Period. We'll talk about that more when we go to build. These are my MME percentages under DK GPP percentage and FD Flex. These are 150. I'm tightening things up for 16 and 12. That's what these fade options are. I'll get to more of that on the later screens. I'm probably not stacking it. You can play either side or you can play none. Quite honestly, it's a very flexible fight for cash games. GPPs, want a ton of it. MME, just getting cute, fading it. There are some other high upside fights slamming in, but this one, when I go to build, I'll probably bump these numbers up just a little bit. This is the math-based formula that we use, the percentages it gave us. So good fight to target. I'm taking Dominic Reyes. I think he's a little more technical. I don't like how Yuri gets a little crazy, but it's a high variance fight. Anything can happen. Chikadze Swanson. Look, I've been doubting Chikadze forever. I think even if you like him to win the fight, I don't think he's a good DFS play. He needs to get a finish here to be relevant in DFS. I don't think he does it. I like Cub. Volume, could have some takedowns here. Even if he loses, the salaries are not going to crush you. Regardless of who you're picking, Cub makes for the better DFS play on both sites. Kutalaba Jacoby, another really good GPP fight. I want a ton of it. I'm picking Jacoby just because, again, similar to the main event, a little more technical in a firefight, but Eon makes these fights insane. Very high inside the distance prop for the fight, like minus 300. This is another fight I want a ton of. Kutalaba probably has a little more slate breaking upside on DK for the 60-second bonus. He's more likely to get that because of how crazy he goes. But Jacoby is a good fighter. Another high variance fight that is really just for GPPs. I listed, if you're going to play someone in cash, Eon just made the cut because, again, for FanDuel anyway, DK, no part of it. FanDuel, it's really heavy on the first round finish. It's worth so much that he made the yellow tier, which, again, I'll do the tiers again in a second. Do the fight by fights. Right. Strickland and Jocko. Look, Strickland should be better everywhere. He's got takedown upside. The only issue here is you got to pay up for Marab on this slate, who we'll get to. Jocko, I don't think he's very good, quite honestly. I don't think there's nowhere in this fight I think he wins. The issue is he's cheap, and I don't necessarily see Strickland getting a finish, so you could play him in some cash games to just a pure punt salary saver. There's probably some better spots, but he's not the worst play. And GPPs, I'm way under, and I'm actually going to be over on Strickland because I think he'll get lost a little bit in the salary, and there's some other dogs I'm willing to take shots on. So I'll actually be overweight to Strickland. All right, Divalishvili Stamen. Look, we all know the breakdown this fight. Divalishvili is DFS gold. Just play him. Green tier is basically a lock in your cash games. Get him in. Play him in all formats. GPPs. He can be a captain on FanDuel, even though he's the most expensive. I will say for this fight, Stamen makes for the better FanDuel play than DraftKings, not over Marab, period. He makes for an interesting FanDuel play because they score takedowns defended. So for that reason, I'll give Stamen a little bit of love for FanDuel. All right, Botello, Carolina. Low-level fight. Botello should be better, but again, Carolina's cheap. Botello, the prices are way off here. 89, 2100. I don't see a lot of upside there. Carolina, again, low-level fight. 300, minus 300 to see a decision. It's cash game punt viable. Like her for that reason. Not big on GPPs because I don't think she's going to win. I don't think she puts up a big number even if she does win, but she's cash game viable. It's closer a fight than I think the line does indicate. Pinheiro Marcos. I started tape thinking I was going to pick Marcos. Look, I can't do it. I think she's done. Has to get takedowns here, slowing down, 35 years old, 2-4 in her last 6, I think. Yeah, I just think Pinheiro beats her up on the feet. I'm interested in her because I think she has a ton of volume, and I don't think she's going to be high owned. She's in the mid-range. So this is probably a play I am higher on than most. I think some people are picking Marco straight up. Yes, she's live. I just, from what I saw in Pinheiro on tape, and I think Marcos is slowing down, I think this is an interesting leverage spot for me personally. I like the newcomer here. Mowgli Benitez, Jonathan Pierce. I'm taking the dog here. A lot of people are high on Mowgli. He's a good GPP play. He's minus 110, about 50-50 to win inside the distance, which is big for DFS in the GPPs. So don't forget him there. You did see I have him marked as a tight 12 fade. He didn't make my top 12 on DK just because I'm picking against him. I think Jonathan Pierce will be able to get takedowns. It's what he needs to do. Benitez only has a 55% takedown defense in the UFC. It's a little sketchy, but Pierce is a dog I'm taking a shot on, and I like the wrestling heavy game plan for DFS. Mowgli's price range on DraftKings just no thank you for cash games. It's interesting about the scoring systems here. Oh, obviously Pierce is a good cash play, I think, on both sites. Mowgli, no part of on DK. FanDuel, you can consider again that minus 110 inside the distance prop really changes things for FanDuel. So I think he's more viable there. Kamaka, TJ Brown, another dog shot here. TJ Brown, I think Brown will get takedowns. I'm not high on Kamaka. I think there's better mid-range targets. It's hard for him to outscore, Reyes and Yeri you got in that range, and some of the other mid-range fights we've already talked about. And we'll compare on those pages coming up. So just not interested. Brown, viable underdog. I think he's, the fight's about pick him. He's a little bit cheaper on all the sites. I like Brown, good for DFS, and he is my pick to win the fight. Next up, Luma Lukbunmi, Sam Hughes. Look, fight breakdown, Luma's better. DFS, this fight should score crap. I actually think Sam Hughes might be a better DFS play because she's so cheap, and if she wins, she could end up on the optimal. I have a hard time seeing Loma ending up on the optimal. She needs a first round finish to do it. The odds don't indicate that's very likely at all. Neither do my eyes, so I'll be underweight to Loma. All right, next fight up, we got Michailidis and Bular. Look, Michaelides looked fine. He looked better than most people thought he would going to against Bukauskas, and then he gets that, fell out of the cage, knocked out, but he was looking okay standing up. 9,100 is a tough range on this card. I know he's got a good inside the distance prop. So again, I'm okay with that in GPPs. Don't trust it all for cash games. And it's more of a FanDuel play for me. I'm taking Bular because I actually thought this fight was really close. So he's my pick straight up. I think I wrote this in the notes. It's more just red flag here. I think Bular is the better DFS play. I'll say it again. Takedowns. Takedowns are king in DFS. Until they change the scoring system, they will be. And I think this fight is just lined a little bit too far apart. So I'll take Bular. It's interesting GPP play to mix in. I'll be a touch overweight. It's not a strong stance. I have some stronger ones I already mentioned. Michaelides, pure GPP play. Naturally for that fight. Next fight, last fight, I'm going to talk about Sanders, Kolaris. Look, Luke Sanders I wrote exactly this. Luke Sanders wins every second of this fight until he finds a way to lose. That's just what Luke Sanders does. This is probably the riskiest fight for me on the card because I'll probably be underweight to it. It's a tough price range for Sanders, and I think he wins. Kolaris, live dog. I'm mixing him in GPPs. Cash games, viable. Again, Sanders doesn't have a high inside the distance prop. You should get some scoring. Kolaris, you think is going to look for takedowns. Sanders is better, but I don't trust him, and that's where Kolaris comes in. So it's this is one of the fight. I had some stronger takes. I'm kind of lukewarm in this one. I'll mix in about field weight because Sanders should win. It's just one of those we don't trust him. That's all I'm doing for the fight by fight breakdowns. About 10 minutes. That's all I want to do on these podcasts. I want to talk more about how we're building DFS lineups. We're going to start with cash games. All right, cash game rankings are on this next tab. I'll start with DraftKings. Look, this is the green tier. Green means go, quite obviously. Sean Strickland. Merab is basically a cash lock. He's not the most expensive. He is DK Gold. He's volume and takedowns and go for it. You have Pinejo, Prohaska, Reyes, Brown, Swanson, and Carolina was just a pure punt. I think this fight goes 3 rounds. So there's some lineups you can build in here with just using my green tier. So let's go over and build it. I know I'm in a tournament lobby, but forgive me. We're going to build for a cash game. I always sort by salary for cash games. Look, skipping over Loma. The first 2 in my cash lineup, I think most cash lineups are going to be Strickland and Divalishvili. All right, now we got, still somewhere to go. I'll look for an underdog I really like here. We're kind of splitting hairs. You can go, I really like Cub. You could plug in Cub and TJ Brown. You got 8,200 left, and you could take, somebody in the main event. I'm obviously I don't pre-play on these. I'm kind of just stream of consciousness. I'm not sure I love this. I don't think you can get him both Swanson and TJ Brown. You can go stars and scrubs here if you get pretty safe. Let's flip over to my rankings just to remind myself. Yeah, I mean, if you were to plug in Pinejo, and then you can if you like Dom Reyes in the main event, you could go that route. Anybody you plug in the main event is going to be risky if you want to mitigate the risk. Let's see what happens here if we take out Pinejo. I'm not planning on stacking. I don't like to stack these high inside the distance prop fights because someone's going to end up with a really low number. But if you want to guarantee yourself the win, I know some people are very high in that strategy. We pick Strickland, Divalishvili. I pick Cubs, Swanson in the stack. That's 5 wins. There's a couple of really close fights in there. So let's clear and let's go a different route here. Now, these are the kind of exercises that I think make all of us better DFS players. How you really attack a card. So Divalishvili is always going to be the first guy in. Just always. You want to go a little bit more of a mid-range build here. Actually, let's see if I can do stars and scrubs before I go mid-range. Say, I put red for Loma, but, she's safe for a win. And then she's going to score low. Sean Strickland, what happens down here? Then I can go Pierce, Kolaris, Carolina. Now you got 3 dogs in here. I don't know how stable that is for cash, but you also got 3 what I think are slam dunk for wins. There's a floor here too. Pierce, low floor fighter, according to the odds, could get knocked out even if I'm picking him. then you put in Cub. Do you really think Giga's going to knock him out? I think this is a perfectly viable alternative as well. I don't think it's my favorite because Loma that just smells like 70 points to me. So we take out Loma. And we go, where else can we go here? Just look into that play. You can put in Pinejo, take out Carolina, and we go right back to, and that was with nobody in the main event. That was pure, obviously, stars and scrubs. So Dom Reyes, if you like him, or no, we didn't quite get to Prohaska. If you want Prohaska in the main event, you probably just come take out Cub, and then you can put in Carolina. Quite honestly, or another option. Let's just do one more. So this is just kind of my thought process. I think they're all viable, and in the Discord we'll talk more about exactly where I'm going to end up. Personally, I have to go through options of this. I can't, I'm not stealing the lineups. So last one, we'll go to Divalishvili. We'll put in Sam Hughes as a pure punt. Just pure, not going to get finished. We'll strike and do some damage here. I still really like TJ Brown. You have 8,800 for the last 3 fighters. That's a healthy amount of salary. Probably put in Sean Strickland. Feel good about that. Then you could. I'm just trying to math it out in my head. Then it comes down to, do you like somebody more? Do you disagree with me on Pierce and you really like Mowgli? Then you can put in Mowgli and somebody in the main event, Prohaska, any of those guys. If you don't, you're with me. Take out Mowgli. You could always come, slam in Loma and, Swanson, Kolaris, if you think they'll win. It's all about, you want to try and find at least 4 wins. That's why the 3 and 3 stars in Scrubs and Catch, I was a little bit dicey about, but if you're really confident on one of them, then go for it. And this TJ Brown's going to be a pick 'em come fight time if he's not already. So I think all those are viable. I'm ending up with more Loma than I really thought, just because safe-ish win. Oh, you can't, somebody's screaming right now. You shouldn't do this because I've just stacked Loma and Sam Hughes, which you don't want to do here. We take her out and then move Kolaris. Yeah, so I'm not so much digging this build anymore. Loma and Cash is very uncomfortable. Kolaris, Cub Swanson, and then Botello feels pretty safe as an option. I wrote more and more about not stacking. There's so few slam dunks here. This is the kind of stuff I enjoy. So I'm sorry if you're bored, you could skip ahead. Prohaska, Reyes. Say we stack the main event. Then we plug in Sean Strickland. Then we plug in, where's Marab? There's Marab. Got 7,800 for TJ Brown. And then Swanson or Kolaris. I think you're going to see this combination a lot. Stack, Marab, Strickland, TJ Brown, and then somebody plugging in either Swanson or Kolaris. Or Jonathan Pierce, although I think he'll be popular in cash because there is that low floor. I think this is a pretty chalky build. All right, so that's what we got for DK. Let's flip over to FanDuel. I have not played as much FanDuel. I've started playing again, gearing up for this the last few weeks. I've been mostly, a DK player, but we'll look at FanDuel and we'll actually start over. We'll refresh ourselves with the rankings. A lot more finishers we're looking at, and then live dogs. It's a very similar list here. A little bit of editing on the fly here with you guys. If I'm looking at FanDuel, how's this come together? Marab. Oh, and your MVP slot in cash, it's still Marab to me. Absolutely. All right, so Marab will play Strickland. It's a $14 a piece. FanDuel does price up the main event more. So Prohaska and Reyes, they're both green. If you have a good read or you're confident one, I definitely would not stack on FanDuel. I'm very confident on that one. Let's scroll down here. Let's see if we got who the most obvious value is in terms of a win. I still like TJ Brown for the price, so I'm going to keep putting him in because I am picking him to win that fight. You know, do we take the punt here with Sam Hughes, and then we get the $17 a fighter? I like the pure punt on FanDuel. I do. You know, we can put in Pinejo and Luke Sanders. Again, we don't really trust Luke Sanders. You know, you can take a shot on the high variance fight on Kutalaba or Jacoby, and that lets you get off of Sam Hughes and go to KB Bular, somebody I think has got more upside to win. I think this is a pretty viable lineup. I'm interested to see. Let's clear it. Let's start again with Merab and Strickland. Let's say you're priced out of him. I'm going to hunt for some first round finishes here. Let's say Prohaska, but keep in mind you could flip this for Reyes, but I'll use the more expensive guy for the example here. TJ Brown, I'm always going to put in. I think Colares is live. I want to get some more sure wins, which on this card is difficult. That leads me back. I really think you're looking at Merab and Strickland and just pure punting with one of these guys, Sam or girls. Sam Hughes, Luana, 1A. I don't much see the difference between them. So sure, I think for most of FanDuel, for cash games, you're going to be plugging in Merab, Strickland, a punt, Luana or Sam, maybe KB if you can afford him, and then $16 to $16 a pop, 15 and 2/3 really. It's who do you like? Start picking your winners. And just going off of who I pick for winners, which if you disagree, again, I'm not talking about pure fight picks. We give those. I have them. But in terms of DFS strategy, this is the place to start. And then you can go, who do you like? And for me, it's probably TJ Brown. I made my case on Pinejo, and then, can't fit Dominic Reyes. So then I probably wouldn't play Pinejo. I'd probably go Felipe Colares, and then Yeri or Dom Reyes if you can fit them. Or the other option is, what if you just flat out double punt? Grab two of them, and then I can play anybody I want. I can play Botello. I could play Mowgli, who's got some DFS upside. And even you're hedging yourself on one side to another. I have some more Pierce on DK. Michaelides. The more I build, so those are the two options. You have Merab, Strickland, Sam Hughes, and then mid-range, or Merab, Strickland, double punt, and a little bit more to spend in the mid-range. That's how I'm going to be attacking FanDuel. All right, let's go back to the sheet. Let's go to the GPP exposures. All right. I do want to explain. So let me just explain how this sheet works. This is math-based approach. Okay. For MME, this is for 150. You're in 150 lineups. I'll talk about if you're running 50-20, how I'll adjust in 1 second. But if I'm running 150, okay, I think to myself, okay, these are all the fighters. What do they need to do to end up on the optimal? Well, Luma needs a finish. What are the odds she finishes? Well, Vegas says it's plus 305. And it's a 22% implied probability. And I do that for each fighter. And it totals 859-ish, right? So then you have to adjust that. There's only 600% in a lineup. And where you get that from, there's 6 roster spots on DK, 100% in each spot, 600. So this is just evenly weighting each of these, straight, just proportions. And that gives me 15% Luma Lukbunmi. And I'll roll that all the way down. And you win for Sean Strickland, 48 is 48% MMA, 70% win odds, 48% weighted. Merab. Now you may want to bump up Merab. I think he's going to be higher on than this, but this is just for 150. There's some game theory to just not shoving in all the Merab. I think I'll be overweight, but if you wanted to say, I think Stamen will stop enough takedowns, and that's a big price for Merab. I'll go a little bit. If you go with this 47%, which for 150, I mean, I'm probably going to do that, quite honestly. Just there's always game theory of going underweight somebody who's going to be 70% owned. If he smashes, he'll be in half my lineups. I'm not dead. And if he doesn't, I've gained some valuable leverage on the field. So do that all the way down. You can always change any of these yourself if you think, hey, there's no way Pinejo, and this is one I waffled on a little bit, that in any win she's on the optimal, because that puts her pretty high up. But it's this mid-range, and it's, I think she's going to have enough volume here. But this is one I honestly waffled on. You could change this, and the numbers will, you can correct those or just lower it. You don't agree with that? Okay, I'm going to bump her down to 20, and I'll give that 20% to Merab. Don't have an optimizer yet at MMAPlay365. Before the question is asked, is on my list to do. Looking at a partnership in-house, probably a partnership somewhere, but it's coming. For right now, I think everybody who's MMing, you have access somewhere. It's just, for now, continue using that, and more to follow. So that's for 150. Then my whole theory on GPPs, and I'm not going to cover this in particular on every podcast, but just the initial one, kind of my viewpoints out there, is tight core. For GPP, I need to eliminate, or for, if I only run 20, you can't overspread. I hate overspreading. You have to take some stands. You just do. Otherwise, in the long run, I think it's minus EV. Agree, disagree, my stance. So I separate into two groups: Sweet 16 fades, Tight 12 fades. And the way it works is, however many people I have to fade to have a 16 fighter player pool, that's a Sweet 16 fade. And obviously, 4 or less than that, it'll be a Tight 12 fade. In general, if I'm running anywhere between 20 and, 100, maybe a little less than 20 to 50. Quite honestly, I'm either playing 150, I'm playing a 20 to 50 contest, or I'm playing, I'm playing a 20 or 3 max, something along those lines. For me, this is my 150 exposures. This is what I'm using anywhere between 20 and 50 lineups, and I'm taking these guys or girls out if I'm running, 3 entry max all the way to 20 max. They could run this on a 20 max depending how confident I am. So that's the thinking behind these. For DraftKings, basic approach, tweaks to these numbers I'll run through real quick. So we'll do more on the podcast each week. The Strickland number could seem high. I like it, though, as the overweight stance. Loma, I might bump that down a little bit. I have a hard time seeing her on the optimal, quite honestly. Michaelides, I kind of like this number. Divalishvili, we talked about game theory. Stay here or go up to field weight if you want. I am also going to add ownership in future weeks. That is something to be coming. Botello, I might bump this number up a little bit. I like leverage on the female fights. Mowgli, this feels about right to me. Also about right. I'm going to take a harder stance on Giga and probably go down on him from this, because even if he wins, I see a decision. So if I'm wrong, it burns me, but that's probably, I'll go under this 18%. Pinejo, that's a hard stance. I might go a touch under this, but I didn't want to put her inside the distance. I just think the volume could be there. So, maybe 30-ish% for her. Kamaka honestly feels about right. Maybe a touch under, so I can get more on, Reyes and Proc landed at 40 and 30. I probably want to bump that up a little bit, quite honestly, take away from some of these other spots. Kutalaba Jacoby, I might want to bump that up a little bit for both guys too, but honestly, probably about that range, even though I'm picking Jacoby. TJ Brown, probably about there. It's about right. Little higher. Brandon Marcos, I'm going to lower this number for sure. I'm not going to go like 10%, but probably that 15 to 20 range. This feels a bit high. I like the number on Cub. I might bump Kolaris up a little bit. I like the number on Pierce. Luana Stamen, I like those. KB Bular, I might bump this a little bit. It's just a super aggressive stance here because I'm picking him to win. it's a low level fight. I might bump that a little bit and be overweight. And I like the numbers on Jocko and Hughes, you know, a la Yarius Dan Ho a few weeks ago. You never know when one of these fighters are going to pop into the optimal at like no ownership. FanDuel, same kind of thing here. I'm not going to re-explain this. You can check out the sheets. I'm going to run through. I limit my MVP exposure to 4. Again, I just don't like to spread. But if you wanted to, include, I'm taking a stance here. You know, you could include Eon is definitely alive for a first round knockout. I probably should mix him in a little bit here now that I look at the sheet and take away from Mowgli just a little bit. I played Mowgli because if I'm wrong on Pierce on DK, it's really going to hurt. And then it gives me a real chance to win here on FanDuel. And that is the way I think Pierce loses. He gets caught early. Prohaska, even though I'm picking Reyes, I think Prohaska's got more likely to get a first round knockout, which is what I want in the MVP slot. Let's go the rest of these percentages. I'm probably going to bump Strickland up a little bit. It's hard on FanDuel because because just the pricing is tighter with the increase of the price in the main event. Loma, I like that. Pollyanna, probably lower that. You know, kind of scrolling through. Same basic thoughts in terms of raising and lowering as on DK. This Giga number is going down for me. I'll definitely have more Reyes than 20% for sure. Everything else looks about, I'll bump up the fights we expect to be on the optimal. I'm going to bump up to get higher and take away from other places, which is the basic concept behind the Sweet 16 and the Tight 12. All right, guys, that's what I got for the first MMAPlay365 DFS podcast. Flip back here. I really hope you enjoyed it. I appreciate all the support. Please like the video. Mostly, though, follow on Twitter at @sniper_DFS. I think that's my name now. Follow MMAPlay365. Start your subscription up. Again, really affordable. $5 an event, $10 a month as we get started. I don't see it going up anytime soon. I like keeping it affordable. Any feedback, I'm more than open. I want to hear, improve, help all of us get better, win some money. I hope to see you guys in my Discord, chatting things up. Again, thank you to everyone for the support. Good luck in those contests. I will see you next week.